What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show where you go to learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about bad and good manipulation in relationships. Yes, believe it or not, guys, there actually are not just bad ways to manipulate in relationships. There are actually positive ways that both men and women can be manipulative in an attempt to actually have a cohesively great relationship. And so what I'm going to talk about today in particular is the ways in which women use manipulation and both positive and negative ways, and how you can be able to tell the difference between a woman that is trying to manipulate you in a way that's going to be beneficial to the relationship and in ways that is only beneficial to her and what she's trying to get out of it, at which point you will know to leave those women alone. We're also going to be answering a question from a woman that I answered a question about a guy she's dating a couple weeks ago. And so she left an update and also gave me some more stats about the guy as it pertains to what she's going through with this guy. And the reason I want to read her situation in particular is because for you guys that are watching, I want to give you guys an example of the kinds of things that men start to do in relationships once they become comfortable that cause women to go crazy and think, do I want to even be with this guy anymore because he's not playing the roles that I want him to play. He's not satisfying me in the bedroom in a certain way. And so you need to be aware of that so you will not be a guy that does that stuff. All right. So we're going to get into all that. And plus, of course, I'll be happy to answer your guys' questions during the course of the show. So leave them in the chat and I will get to them all on today's episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. Let's get it.
It's the Introvert Dating Success Podcast, the show for introverted men that's all about learning how to attract beautiful women and still get your precious alone time. And now, here's your host, dating coach and fellow introvert, Harry Wilmington.
As always, this show is brought to you by introvertdatingsuccess.com, which is my website. You can go there to check out my ebooks, audiobooks, and programs, all designed to help you date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Right now, for this month, it is Pay What You Want May. In terms of my ebooks, if you go to the products tab and click on either my texting ebook, my Getting Your Girlfriend Back ebook, or my Do Not Do This Stuff When You're Trying to Date ebook, then you can get that for any price. Just type a number into the checkout, and that is the price you pay for it. It is coming to a close soon because the end of May is next Friday. So if you're listening to this in May, you still have a chance to get my books at any price you want. Just go ahead and check that out. And while you're there, be sure to check out my 12-week program, the Introvert Dating Success Coaching Academy. This is the program that's going to ultimately not just change your dating life, but the way in which you think about the world in general, so you can get the results that you truly want out of life, whether it's from your job or from your relationships. This program will help you immensely. Go ahead and check it out at the website. If you like what you see, consider enrolling in that today. All right, so let us get into the thick of it. So before we get into, the title says bad and good manipulation relationships, and then how to slow down your orgasm. So I'm actually going to start with the latter first because it is an interesting situation. And so I had to cut and paste this into here. I was going to read this, and then she just wrote a whole lot of stuff. But this woman's really going through it. So I'm going to first go over this lady's situation. She has a few things that she wrote about that I want to answer and also help you guys be able to see, again, the kind of men that, it's not that women are completely crazy in terms of like why they end up losing attraction. There are women out there that just decide, I'm just not happy for whatever reason, and so I'm going to leave. Or, oh, there's a bigger, better deal over there. I'm going to go after him. That does happen. So we're not going to discount that. But sometimes a woman will get with you. And what happens a lot of time is this, honestly, is that she sees a version of you that you're showing during the dating phase, and she loves it. And she says yes to it. And then 6 months later, you end up being a completely different guy, or some of the things that you did in the beginning to get her, you stop doing, or you start pulling out all these new tricks that she wasn't aware were even in your bag, or she might come across like you have some kind of diagnosis that she was unaware of prior to dating you. And these things will cause women to feel as though they were tricked, that they were lied to, or that they weren't totally getting you in the sense of like, how you presented yourself is not what they're completely getting, and now they're frustrated by it. And it seems like this is this woman's situation. And so I'm going to go over the first part of her question, and then we'll go over the second situation she has coming up. So here's the first part. So this lady wrote me, and she said, can you do a video pertaining to dating someone with ADD? She says, so I'm going to read this along and stop along the way to give my insights, right? Suffice to say, ADD, somebody that has that, it can be difficult at times to date them because it's an attention disorder. By default of the word, the A in there for attention, it means that sometimes you're going to tell them stuff and they're going to forget it. You could say 5 or 6 times, hey, for example, hey, when you're in the living room, make sure to like pick up your clothes if you're done folding them from the laundry. And then you could say that to them. And then like 2 days later, there's the laundry on the couch again, because again, even though they really are trying hard to pay attention, the chemicals in their brain are not allowing them to have that function work as effectively as you would like, you know? And so with that said, let's read along with what she says. So she says, I've been living with my significant other for 2 months and they've been dating for 9 months. All right. He says he has ADD. He refuses to take medication, so he self-medicates. I would check to see if he actually got diagnosed with that or if he's self-diagnosing, but we're going to assume that he was actually diagnosed with ADD, okay? That is a thing where ideally, if he knows that he has it, that he's taking things for it. But you got to understand, a lot of medications that they give for these various disorders, they cause other weird feelings. You know, I had a woman I was dating one time, and she had a cousin that had bipolar disorder. And so what would happen is she would get on her meds, she would get off of them, and then she'd have an episode. She'd end up in the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks. She'd get back on the meds, and then a couple months later, she'd be off the meds. And so I kept trying to figure out why it was that she would stop using the meds, because when she was on the meds, she was doing great. She was lively. She was able to talk and be cohesive, and she wasn't having her brain and stuff all scrambled. But the medication caused her to gain a significant amount of weight, and it made her feel kind of cloudy in her head. She didn't like that feeling, and she definitely didn't like gaining weight, because on the one hand, she's trying to work out to lose weight, but then she keeps it on because the medication is causing her to keep weight. So you got to understand that, and I'm not saying this excuses him from not using the medication. I'm just telling you, it would behoove you to at least figure out, okay, the medication that he's taking, is it causing him to have any undesirable effects in his body that would make him want to just quit it altogether? Now, if it's an ego thing, like sometimes guys get their ego like, well, I shouldn't need a pill to tell me what to make me act a certain way. I'm going to do without. That is a different conversation. That is not he's feeling weird when he takes the pill. That's him saying, I feel like I don't need these pills because it hits in my ego. And that is a different conversation. That is when you need to tell him to get over that. But again, you should really do your research on the medication to see why it is that he's not wanting to take it as much. You know, just something to consider. So then she says, I feel like when he self-medicates, and I don't know what that means. That could mean marijuana. That could mean alcohol. Either way, none of those things are good things to be doing as a substitute for taking actual medication. But anyway, she says, I feel like when he self-medicates, he forgets about prior commitments and loses all motivation. I've expressed to him that I don't feel like a priority to him. When I bring concerns or problems up that typically a man will solve, it goes in one ear and out the other. Or he says he doesn't know how to do it, and I'm left trying to figure it out myself. This concerns me. This is a really good insight that she has. She says, this concerns me because it puts me into my masculine energy. Think about this, guys. What is she saying right here? She's saying that she's understanding that there are roles here. She's understanding that males play a role and females play a role, and that the male role is to lead, be able to make decisions, to take charge of things. And she wants that out of her guy. So when she sees her guy not doing that, and leaving all the responsibilities on her, it causes her to start to lose attraction. This is a very key note for you as a guy to understand, because I get it. Some of you guys have been made to believe that women want to be part of the decision-making process, or if you don't let them make the decisions, they're going to be disappointed or upset at what you choose. So it's just easier to leave it to her. Women at large don't want that. Yes, women have a history of they've not been able to necessarily trust men in a certain way. So sometimes they may try to fight you back a little bit, but their end goal is they want to be able to trust you enough to where when problems arise, they can come to you and say, hey, this thing's come up. What do you think we should do? Because they know that our brains are better built to analyze things without the emotion being there to cloud us to making the wrong decision and then being able to come to a conclusion of some kind. If you're not taking on that role, then you are, in fact, leaving her in her masculine energy. And I find most women don't want to be in their masculine energy, especially as it pertains to their relationships, because as you'll see coming up next, she says this. She says, at work, I have a lot of responsibilities at work, from people management of 50 plus people to managing inventories. When I come home, I want to be able to rely on my partner to help, to step up so I can relax a little bit and not be in control all the time. What she's saying is she wants to be able to come home after having to be in her masculine energy all day by managing these 50 plus people to be able to bask in her feminine energy. And that's what you as a guy need to take up. Hey, I've been a guy for the most of my life. Even in California, I've somehow managed to create a life where the majority of what I do is at home. I have found the majority of women that I've dated have worked outside the home at an office, or they'll go to work, like, because post-pandemic, it was like they'll go to work part of the week and then come home in the other part of the week, right? But suffice to say, either way, they're going out into the world doing things at offices and at jobs where I know when they get home, the last thing they want to do is babysit me. The last thing they want to do is say, hey, I'm home. I've had a tired day at work. Let's go on a date. And then have me go, great, honey, what do you want to do? Like, they want me as the guy to take up that masculine role. Even if they got to be, have the masculine energy at work, they want to be able to go to a place where they can just be. They don't have to overthink. They don't have to analyze, because they're trusting the guy that they're with to take on that responsibility. When you don't do that, this is what starts to cause the lowering of a woman's attraction for you. Again, they've been together 9 months. They should still technically be in the honeymoon phase where he can do no wrong, and he's doing like all the wrong. Now, again, to be fair to this guy, if he's got ADD, then this is going to play a part into that. But suffice to say, there should be conversations happening. There should be therapies happening. There should be things that they're trying to do to see to it that wherever his ADD situation is, it's not going to ultimately cause detriment to the relationship where she feels like she's pulling most of the bulk of it and he's not doing his part. So then she says, I want him to step up and lead. She says, please note that I am salary, always working. I do take time out of my days to meal prep for him. All he has to do is go heat up his meals that I prepared in advance. So even with as busy as she is, she's still doing the feminine role of making sure everybody's fed. She's cooking meals. She's cooking a lot in advance. So all he has to do is heat it up. And I'm assuming that means that he can heat it up for both of them. My question is he even doing that? Like, when she comes home from work, is he still like, hey, you're home, you need to heat up our meals? Because if that's happening, then he's definitely not playing his part. But we don't know what he's doing that or not. So anyway, she says, I am not someone to nag. I tell him once and remind him once, and it still doesn't get done. And kudos to her, because that's hard for most women. Most women, they will harp on and harp on and harp on. But this is the point, guys, is that when a woman comes to you, usually if she has something she wants you to do, or something that's bugging her, this is where it goes to. Most women are going to speak in passive language, like, hey, babe, so, hey, I noticed the trash is still there. What's up with that? Like, that's going to be about as direct as they want to go, because they're hoping, I don't want to come off as a nag, because me nagging is in my masculine energy. But I do want him to know that this thing is something that needs attention. And so that's why I tell you guys, when women mention anything to you, you might be thinking, if she's not yelling it or saying it directly, that it's not a big deal. It is always a big deal. Anytime a woman says, hey, babe, I just want you to know that blah, 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 or, I was hoping you could take care of this thing, blah, blah, like, they might be saying it in a very soft, gentile tone. And they're doing that because they hear that's what we want. They hear we don't want them to yell at us. We don't want them to nag us. We don't want them to constantly be on our heads, beating us down, making us feel like they're our mom by trying to tell us what to do. And yet, when they go the opposite way and try to come to us in ways that are passive and more gentle, and being, hey, babe, with sweet voices, we don't take them seriously. We can't have both, guys. We can't be like, don't nag me, but then, and talk to me sweeter. But then when they talk to us sweeter, say, she's not doing a big deal. Understand, it is always a big deal. So then she says, I am frustrated to the point where I feel like he's just a roommate who receives the benefits. Is there anything I can do to help other than what I'm doing? I try to be patient, but he talks about wanting children. He's 34 and I'm 27. I can't help but think I will be managing the children on my own and becoming a single mom if I continue down this path. Well, for the lady watching this, I will just cut to the chase, which is that is most likely what's going to happen if things do not change. Now, this is the advice that I give to guys on my show, okay, is that usually this kind of stuff will come out early on in the relationship. Like, for example, you now know he has ADD. I don't know when you found that out. I'm hoping it wasn't month 9. I'm guessing if you were dating him for at least for the first 3 or 6 months where you weren't living together, at some point within that 5 or 6 month period, it came out from him, by the way, I have ADD, right? And so I would like to believe that some of this stuff was already being shown to you prior to you guys living together. Now, men can be great at hiding things, so it could very well be that none of this stuff came out until you started living together. I do not typically recommend people live together before they get married, but I will say that clearly since you've been doing that, you've been able to get some insights into what's going on, right? He's 34. I have found once people get to age 25, they don't typically get better or worse than how they currently are. Like, it's very hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So if he's been this way for 9 months or even the 2 months you've been living together, don't assume he's going to just up and change how he's acting at the drop of a hat. This is how he's been. He's been solidified in who he is legitimately since 25. He's 34. That's 9 years, okay? So you coming in and saying, hey, babe, let's have a talk about this, blah, 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 and then assuming that one talk is going to make him completely change his behavior. Even if he wants to change his behavior, he's going to go back to patterns and behaviors that he's been doing habitually for these last 9 or 10 years, if not most of his life. And so even though he may want to change, you got to factor in that he's used to doing stuff one way, and then add on the add part of this where he's got attention deficit, and it's going to be a struggle to get him to change things. Even if he has all the care for you in the world and cares for your well-being and isn't intentionally trying to do these things, you got to understand, if he's been diagnosed with ADD, there's a good chance that you could fight the good fight and you guys could get to a point where he's able to do better at this, but it's going to take more than just a couple conversations. This could easily take 6 months to a year, if not 2 years, to get him to the desired behavior. And that would mean lovingly going to him time and time again. Babe, we talked about this. Let's say, for example, like he forgets about commitments. You yelling at him is not going to fix that. You going to him, babe, remember you said you do this thing? Oh, God, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. You might hear that a few times. There'll be a few times where he's going to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Oh, my God, this and that. And you're going to get mad at him because here's the thing about brain disorders, right? Like, you could consciously know he has a brain disorder, but the interaction with him, your body's going to feel as this is disrespectful and it's intentional, And I'm sure people go through this with like, relatives that have, dementia and stuff like that, where it's like, no, mom, I told you, this is the thing, remember? It's like, no, they don't. And as people that have more conscious brains, it's really hard to look at somebody and be like, how could they forget this thing? It's just so obvious. It's so simple. Their brain is not set up like that, So assuming he's been actually diagnosed with this, you got it. And this is the thing where it's like, I can feel empathy for that guy. You can feel sorry for him, but also you have to recognize the situation for what it is. You are dating a guy that functionally has a mental block of some kind that's going to affect his interactions with you. It's going to affect his ability to focus on what you're saying or to remember the things that you guys talked about. And you have to decide, is that so frustrating that you can't deal with it? Because there's no right or wrong here. Hey, there are people out there that understand people with ADD and aren't bugged by it. There are people that, like, if you had to tell somebody 5,000-6,000 times, well, they just want the conversation. They don't care. You might not be one of those people. That's totally fine. But you got to decide for yourself, is that a thing that's going to consistently bug you? Because if it is, then it's not fair to you to continue to date this guy, knowing full well that you're going to be in nag mode all the time. All right. Now, with that said, on his end of things, if he recognizes he has ADD, then it's also his responsibility to do his part to do the best he possibly can at not being as, I'll just say, annoying with this stuff as possible. For example, if he agrees to a task, it might be hard for him to keep it in his brain. Fine, create a list. Make sure every time he agrees to a task, you guys write it down and put it on the fridge and say, okay, remember, this is your task. When he walks by the fridge, if you got to post it on his fridge, his mirror, his hand before he goes to bed, like, make sure he has at least 4 or 5 reminders around him to know that it's his responsibility. Then at that point, if he forgets, then he's just not trying. Because now it's like he's got 5 different things he can look at that say, oh, she told me to do this, or oh, I'm supposed to do this thing. And that point, he's not doing his part, and you can decide, okay, now he's not actively trying to do things to see to it that I'm less frustrated. At this point, I got to be out. But it behooves you to research ADD, to really study up on what it is. It behooves him to do that also because he might think it's one thing but mean another. It's good for you guys to both research the various kinds of ways that he can deal with this. If he doesn't want to take medication, there are therapeutic ways to handle this stuff. There are you guys do the research yourself. Like there are research different ways for him to go about doing this, because if he legitimately cares about you, I always like to say that people ultimately aren't trying to intentionally bug somebody else. And so if this is something that is a concern of yours and he's a guy that genuinely cares for you, he's going to do all he can to be on the right foot with that stuff. If he doesn't and it's just like, well, things are fine the way they are, then you probably got to seek somebody else, So there's no easy answer to this. I'm not a doctor, so all I can say is research the best you can. Try to talk to them about, hey, these are, and always when you talk to somebody, always do it like, don't try to blame the person like, you keep doing this and blah, 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 blah. I find that's not how you win people over. Your best bet is to say, hey, so I've noticed that when these things are happening, this is how I'm taking it in. This is how I'm feeling affected by it. I feel myself getting frustrated. I feel myself not feeling as heard. And I don't think that's your intention. I'm just telling you this is how I feel when these things are happening, or when we're trying to plan something and you agree to do something and you don't. I feel less trusting because now I don't know if I can take you at your word. So what can we do in order to make this a better situation? And then go from there. Hopefully some of what I've said will help you out. And if not, then again, you got to decide if this is the kind of situation you want to be in long term. There are no wrong answers, but you're 27. You still have plenty of time to find another guy if this one is not going to be the one that you want to be. And that's my suggestion for that. So that is answering the first part of her question. Let me get this water real quick here. Sweet water. Thank you for the comment. I appreciate you enjoying my content. If you like this content, give me a like on this video, subscribe to this channel. Also, you can always leave a Cash App as a true thank you, and also a super chat courtesy of YouTube. So that was the first part of our question with this guy. So now on to the second part, which is also very, very important. So I did a video a while back called How to Make Him Dominate You in Bed. And so this lady had written me asking about how to get her guy to be more dominant, because she felt as though I did a few shows talking about how women, sometimes men view women in a certain way that's a little bit too gentle. Like, oh, she's a delicate flower. She's a gentle. She's like a glass. I don't want to break her. And when it comes to the bedroom, some women want to be broken in half. And there are some dudes that are afraid to do that. So I did a whole video talking about, for women, how to get your guy to be more comfortable being dominant in bed. So this lady gave me a follow-up to that. So she said, thank you for answering my question. Follow-up. I have learned to voice my needs more. Good. And after the session, I ask him his thoughts. I've been trying new things every time. However, I am still feeling unsatisfied having to initiate hookups and him finishing before me. Ouch. I have tried to incorporate my toys, but I'm still unable to reach climax because he reaches climax before I do. Then I'm no longer interested. Ugh. On a positive note, he blew my back out a few days ago, LOL. Yes. Unfortunately, me being unsatisfied, I am seeing this leading to other issues in the relationship, which is now making me question if we're just better off as friends. Well, I'll give you, from the guy's point of view, I'll say this. Once we've hooked up with you, assuming that we actually like you, want to be with you, it is very hard to go from hanging out with a woman that we were hooking up with all the time to just hanging out with her and not doing that, because we've already now created processes where we hang out with you, we're having a good time, and we know this eventually leads to hookup. It's very hard to cut that off. And so I typically tell guys at the point that a breakup happens, like, don't do that. Like, don't stay friends with exes, because that blocks away your time you could be spending trying to get with other women that would actually want to hook up with you. So I would say that's not the best mode of operandi. But so first of all, guys, again, this is a great note for you all, because notice she's saying, what are her complaints? That she feels unsatisfied. He's constantly finishing before her. And even when they're using toys, he climaxes first, which makes her less interested. Now, I'm going to first explain to her why it is that happens, and then we'll get into the guys part of things. So, lady watching this is not to take away from the fact that, yes, this guy needs to do a better job. After all, he's 34. But I'm just going to give you the guys' perspective of things, right? Because you all don't have these parts. You guys have a clitoris and other things that are down there that, have their own ways of being turned on and being long lasting, right? Guys, our stuff, especially the younger we are, at the point that we get turned on, right? Everything down there is super sensitive. And at the point that we get inside you, I don't know if you guys know how the inside of your cells feels. I'm going to assume as a woman you do, but there are ridges down there. There's liquids down there. There are all these things that are designed by nature, mind you, to help a guy get his seed out, And so they've created our parts to be super sensitive to when that stuff's happening, because the more sensitive it is, the easier it's going to be for us to get aroused enough to get some seeds in, right? And so, again, this is not discounting your experience, because guys need to do a better job at learning how to prolong. I'm just telling you, for guys that are going in you, all the parts on there are super sensitive to where it can be very, no pun intended, it can be very hard to hold back. Like, even a guy that is doing his best to try to hold back, things get slippery and sensitive nerves start going off, and next thing you know, we're just like, and it can be a thing where we're not even trying to do that, okay? There was something else I wanted to say. The other point I wanted to make was that, so the other thing is that in our brains, time for us slows down, even though things are actually going really fast. So when a guy is thrusting back and forth, he may be thinking, okay, I'm going to do my hardest to not finish off right away. I'm going to do my best to make sure she gets satisfied. And we think we're going slow. Like, we really think we're doing a few pumps here and there. But I want you to understand how much energy it legitimately takes out of us to do all of that. Like, you all are in the position, no pun intended, of lying there or being bent over some way, and there's not much movement on your part other than the movement we're doing in terms of, like, we're holding you, we might be shaking you a little bit, but we're doing I just want you as a woman to stand there for the next minute and just thrust yourself with your pelvis back and forth like guys do, all right? Doing that for a minute, it already wears most men out. Now picture, okay, the woman wants me to last for 10 minutes, and most guys think that means 10 minutes of thrusting. Now, it doesn't mean that, and I'll explain that to guys in a minute. But suffice to say, a guy's picturing in his head, she wants me to go 10 minutes. So he's like, okay, I'm going to last. And he's thrusting, he's going. He's like, oh my God. And then he might have set a timer. I'm going to time myself, make sure I'm 10 minutes in. And he's thrusting. He's like, he roars really loud. And he's like, that was great. Looks at the timer. It's been like 55 seconds to a minute and 15. And it's like, I thought it was, because in our heads, again, we're thinking that we're going as slow as we possibly can. But all those movements, there's wetness down there, there's friction down there, there's all these thrusts we got to do. We're trying to lift you up. We're trying to use our muscle strength. Like, all that stuff is very exhausting on a guy, to where he may be unaware at how fast he's actually going, because all that exercise and activity weighs him to where it's just like, oh my God, that was so much. That was a lot. And you're sitting there thinking, he barely did anything. It was like less than a minute. What's going on? But that minute, he was putting in a lot of work, Now, you said he blew your back out at some point. So clearly he did something right at some point, which is great. But here's the thing. So I'm just going to giving you understanding of, from the guy's perspective, why it is sometimes that guys end up finishing a lot faster. It's because we're doing so much work that it tires us out, and things feel great down there, to where it's like, next thing we know, it's just like, it slipped out, and we're not aware that that's happened. Now, as an older guy, I can tell you, most older guys last a lot longer, because those sensitivities have started to wear down a bit, to where I've had sessions where I can literally last like 10 to 15 minutes and not ejaculate, and the women that I'm with, they love that. So I don't make any complaints of it. But I say this, so that's just an understanding for you women. Now, for the guys of this thing, take her complaints seriously, because there are women out there that you may be hooking up with that will never tell you this. So you're getting some secret intel that women that you're trying to please are not going to tell you. Why? Because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want you to feel as though you're not doing a good enough job, or, oh my God, like, I feel my ego's hurt because you're saying I didn't do. Like, women are very keenly aware since like childhood at how fragile guys' egos are. And so when they come across you and you guys are hooking up and it's not going the way she wants it to go, rarely are they going to feel as though they can just tell you outright that that's the truth. Because in their first few experiences of trying to do that with a guy, because they're thinking, I can be honest with the guy, just because the sex wasn't that great doesn't mean I don't think he can get better at it. But they come to us and say, well, I didn't get pleased. Oh my God, how could you say anything? You're just different and blah, blah, blah. Women learn to shut up. We teach women to shut up. And so you have to understand that most women aren't going to, no pun intended, come to you and ask you if you're doing an okay job. I've learned this just as a guy, that if I want the sex to get better, I have to go in when I hook up with women knowing full well that if there were any complaints, or even just, they want me to do some stuff that I didn't do, they're probably not going to voice it unless I bring up the situation. So if I'm hooking up with a woman for the first time, for example, usually after that first one, I'll be like, not the first one, usually like the second or third hookup, I'll be like, so, having a good time? Like, what things do you like? What things you want me to add to the situation? Is there anything I could be doing different? Are there certain angles I haven't tried yet? Because I have no ego about this. My ego is wrapped up in, I'm going to give you the best time possible. And I know in order to do that, I need intel. So give me your intel so I can really make this great. And I get few complaints as a result of that. So as the guy, you got to understand, women across the board want you to last a longer time. And when I say long, most guys think they got to last like 20, 30 minutes. This is not a porno flick. You ain't got to last that long. It can sometimes if you know, but I think most men think women are meaning that we got to be in them and stroking for 10 minutes straight. But they want the entire sexual experience to be a thing that gets them off. And that doesn't always mean just going straight for P and V. You know, there are a bunch of other things you can do in order to make a hookup last longer. Now, in terms of answering your question, lady, here's what you can offer to the guy, right? So for one, you've already tried to bring toys into the situation. It is what it is. Whether it's not, if it's not working, then it's not working. I have found that a good way to prolong is to come up with games. You know, there are actual like sexual compatibility board games you can buy at like a hookup shop. You know, they're putting, I mean, I'm in LA, so they have those kind of shops all over the place, but they have games where it's like there are board games, there are card games, and those games allow both partners to take turns doing different things to the other partner. So for example, I have a game, it's like a miniature football game, and it's a football, there's two sides to it where, you know, the guys on one side, the girls on the other side, and you roll the dice and you land on different spots and you have cards that you pick up. And then those cards will say different things. So for example, I might pick up a card that says, okay, you have to please your partner by going down on them for like a minute and a half, you know? So now I got to go down on this other person and we time it and it's all about them. It's just getting them aroused. Then the next card might be, you know, she has to please you in some way, or, oh, you guys have to like put applesauce or chocolate on each other. Or, you know, there's like a bunch of different things, right? But those games are designed to be like a fun version of foreplay in the event that you can't think of how to do foreplay, you know, because they'll give suggestions that, especially with a lot of the card games, you'll have cards where like, you know, the first set of cards is like, okay, these are all cards that involve just taking off your clothes and like doing, you know, touchy stuff, but it's not completely going all the way. And then once you have your clothes off, then the next set of cards is, okay, we're doing stuff that's more intense, and it can lead to going all the way, but it can lead to like nipple play or vagina play or kissing on the neck or being sensual or just touching all over the body. And so these kind of games will prolong the prep period for a woman, you know? And so if you incorporate these kind of games into your hooking up, then you'll be able to find, for one, they're fun. A lot of these games are really, really fun. Number two, some of these games secretly have questions that you have to ask each other that are not doing any actions, but like asking questions. So you might have some questions that are like, you know, hey, tell the other person, or ask the other person what their secret fantasy is, or tell the other person what's something you want done in bed to you. So that way, these games allow you to give and get intel about sexual fantasies or desires without blatantly saying, hey, you never do what I want to do in bed. I wish you would do more of this. Like, it creates to where you're doing it in a more playful way that most guys are more open to. Like, here's the secret for women, right? Most guys will listen to any complaints you have or any ideas you have about stuff you want to do if it's while you're doing it with an action of some kind. Like, guys aren't the best at, hey, we're going to just sit down and we're going to have a strong conversation about what it is we want and don't want out of this relationship. A better thing to do is take a guy rock climbing, take a guy to like a golfing range or putt-putt golf or bowling or on a hike where they're doing an action of some kind. I don't know why it works so well, but somehow that action will allow him to take whatever you're telling him at a less intense tone, and he'll be more open to having a conversation about it by way of you doing actions versus we're face-to-face and going to talk, because that's just not the best way to get to a guy. So these games are another way to, you're doing an action, you're being playful, you're having fun, you're doing some hookup things here and there. But in the course of that, you're also legitimately learning about what he likes. He's able to learn about what you like. And in that process, you'll be able to make stuff last longer to where ideally you'll be able to get an orgasm. You know, you might be able to say on one of those fantasy cards, oh, I just picture you just, you know, one day just taking over my body and just licking me down there until I scream. And then he'll be like, oh, okay, we can make that happen. Next thing you know, he's down on his knee knees and he's licking you all over the place until you climax, versus I'll lick you for like a minute and then it's back to what I want to do. And those are the things, again, it makes you you're trying to trick the guy, but what you're doing is giving him instructions. Guys do better in the bedroom when they have the exact instructions, especially if, per our previous conversation, this guy has ADD. You try to do multiple new things in bed and try to do all these things. No. Each time you're in bed, give him one new task and say, let's do this new task and let's do this one until I climax all the way, and then we'll get to you. And then also let them know, hey, as a woman, you can have multiples, which is great. So that means that you can orgasm once, and then he can get his rocks off, or God forbid, he makes you end up orgasming again. That's double play for him, But suffice to say, that's a way that I would consider going about it, is that don't try to come to him up front, be like, just so you know, our time in the bedroom, you seem so selfish and blah, blah. He's not necessarily trying to be that way. Assuming he's the guy that legitimately cares about you. If he's just all about himself and about getting his rocks off, that's a different conversation. But assuming you're reading from him that he actually does care about you, then he's just trying to, again, our stuff down there is already super sensitive. And though that's things that he can practice on his own, like Kegel exercises, and like he can practice touching himself, but not finishing all the way. That's a way for him to train himself to not have to ejaculate right away just because he's feeling stuff down there. But when you're into things, like I said, like get some games and then just let him know you can do multiples, and that you want to really get to know what he has fantasies of, but also give him some of yours. And then hopefully that'll allow him to see like, okay, so I can do my part, and it's not, and also let him know you want to be pleased first doesn't mean him stroking down there. Let him know about the joy of using his hands or fingers or tongue or other things that'll help you orgasm. Because a lot of guys think, here's the thing I've noticed too, right? Is that just as a general rule of how people are in general, people typically project out to others the things that they want done to them. And I think a big problem that men and women have in the sexual realm is that the ways that we get turned on are completely different. And so we try to do that on the other person. For example, a lot of women complain about how fast guys are. That should let women know that guys want it fast. So when women are teasing us, they want to like, say a woman's going down on you, guy, right? Like she's trying to tease you with the tongue and like lick slowly over you. Women, I will tell you now, that drives most men insane, and not in a good way. Because guys are very much like, get to the task at hand. So with women complain about how fast we are because they like it slow. They get turned on like a light switch, like a little doorknob, where it's like a light knob, where it's like, it's like to and fro. It's temperature, right? So that's why you don't just get in bed with a woman and kiss her and just start ripping off her clothes and just start trying to get inside of her. You got to prep her a little bit, you got to do pre-play. You got to rub her down there a little bit, touch her nipples, rub around her, touch her. So she starts getting her body primed up to want to hook up, And so I think men and women can learn from what they're trying to do to each other that they need to do the complete opposite. So women are trying to get your motor running slow. You need to tell your woman, hey, I like it if you move a little bit faster. When you're down there doing your thing, like don't just be teasing with it, like go to town on it. When you're jumping up and down on me, it's cool if you do slow occasionally, but like go fast. I like that. On her side of things, understand she's going to want slow. So slow this train all the way down. I've done things in the past, like tantric exercises, where it's like you take your hand and you barely touch a woman. Like you just like, here's a cup. So you just kind of like touch her like this, like very lightly against her skin, and just do that for her whole body. She will be so turned on. She will be dripping down there before you even got into that part of her body just by doing that. But for most guys, they would be driven crazy by that and be like, can you just get to the good stuff, So both sexes need to learn how to acquiesce just a little bit to what the other one wants when they're doing them on their turn, And I think by doing that, then both sexes would have a better experience. So for you, the woman watching this, I would say, don't do stuff so slow on him, but let him know that you need just a little bit of foreplay to turn you on even more. And tell him, hey, that one hookup that you did that we had that was mind-blowing, was absolutely great. I want you to keep doing that stuff, but also here's some other stuff you can do that's going to really get my body up to the next level, and it'll be your fault. Because guys want your pleasure to be their fault, but that comes with you kind of telling them, hey, these are the actual things that are going to get you to the promised land. So hopefully, woman, that helps you out. And please keep me updated on the situation, because I love updates as always. All right. So with that said, we're going to get into the main crux of the show. But first, I want you to take a look at this because this is Pay What You Want May. You can get any of my 3 ebooks at my website right now for whatever price you want to pay. Just click on the book you want. When you get to checkout, type in a number, boom, that's what you pay for it. This is good for May only. So if you're listening to this in June, then you've missed out. But if this is still May, I'd say go there and get it now at the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com. And here's what those books look like. Hey guys, Harry Williamson here. And I just want to tell you really quickly about some of the awesome ebooks that I have available at the website. So to start off with, we have my brand new book, Stop Losing Women, which is based off of my previous podcast. And it's over 284 pages of life-changing advice for your dating life. You're going to discover in the span of these pages the ins and outs of how to become more confident, the do's and don'ts of how to attract women, how to pace yourself during the dating process, and ultimately what it truly takes for you to be a more confident dater so that way you can get out there, attract women, and more importantly, stop losing women, okay? The other ebook that I have on my website is called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. This is the first book that I ever wrote, and simply put, it is a 12-chapter masterpiece that is designed to, in a very funny way, mind you, guide you through the ins and outs of why all the things you're trying to do right now to attract women can actually cause you to lose them. I mean, things like being the nice guy, overextending yourself, getting too many gifts, too many compliments, and a variety of other things that you may think as a guy I should be doing. This funny book's going to help you figure out once for all why you should not do those things and how to better yourself instead. So be sure to check that book out as well. The other book that's been very popular at my website is called Texting Like a Boss. This is where, for all you guys out there that have problems texting women or don't understand why she starts off so chummy in the terms of the texting things, and then she starts to kind of go away and you can't figure out what's going on or why, or you're not an efficient enough texter to be able to actually get dates by way of texting. Well, this book is going to give you 21 do's and don'ts that are tried, true, and tested so that way you can get the results that you want with women when you're texting them and ultimately not do the wrong things that are going to cause her to eventually ghost you in the texting realm. All right. So check that book out at the website. Lastly, my other popular book that I have there is called 10 Steps to Winning Back Your Ex, the step-by-step, no-nonsense guide to reconnecting with an old flame, regardless of who ended the relationship. And so for you guys that are like, hey, I think I lost a great one and she left me and I want to get her back. Or you might have been the guy that's like, hey, I dumped her and then I realized I made a mistake and I want to get her back. Well, this book covers both of those scenarios in a very detailed step-by-step way that is designed to allow you to figure out what you did wrong, how you can show up better, and the sequence of events you need to go through in order to effectively win back the woman that you are no longer with. So if these things sound like things that'll be helpful to you, then definitely go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the products tab where you can find a summary of all these books as well as my various programs, and they will be more than happy in helping you figure out whatever part of the dating journey you're on so that way you will not be confused and you will ultimately be able to have the dating life that you want. So check those out at the website today. All right, guys, we are back. So, thank you in the comments for getting the audiobook. Yes, some of my books are available in audiobooks as well. And yeah, we have some more great stuff coming at the website soon. So I'm still working on some stuff to launch up in June. But yeah, appreciate you guys that are showing support, whether it's getting the ebooks, the audiobooks, the programs. Again, my goal in starting all this is to benefit you guys. Like, yes, there are people that are like, oh my God, you're doing this to get money. I'm like, dude, I have over 800 videos on YouTube full of free advice, and I do a free newsletter, and there's plenty of other stuff out there. I have a free webinar. Like, I just want you guys to get the information as best as you can because I don't want you to struggle. So I appreciate anybody that's showing any kind of support. But again, you can always leave a Cash App as well, a YouTube, what's it called, a super chat, whatever you want. I just appreciate whatever support. Liking and subscribing and sharing these videos also helps greatly. It helps with the algorithm. So appreciate all you guys for your support. All right, so let's get into the main topic of discussion. So today we're talking about how women manipulate men in relationships, both good and bad. Now, I say this because, I see a lot of videos from women talking about how they don't like men that are manipulative or that are trying to pull strings to make them do things they wouldn't normally do. But the reality is that most women, if you ask them, if the fact that they're looking for a guy to lead means that they're looking for a guy to come along and do things that make her believe that she should listen to what he has to say. And so that does take some type of manipulation. But I think people hear the word manipulate and automatically add a bad connotation to it. And, men will say this too. It's like, oh, women are just trying to manipulate us to X, Y, and Z. And women at large are always going to manipulate on some level. Like, you're not going to meet a woman that is not going to, at some point in your interaction with her, do or say things that are designed on her side of things to get a particular outcome. But that does not mean that all manipulation is bad. In fact, there are such things as good manipulation. But how can you as a guy tell the difference between a woman that is manipulating you with good intentions or a woman that is manipulating you with bad intentions? And that's what I want to talk about today, because I think you as a guy, it is very, very important for you to understand that when you're dealing with women, manipulation is going to happen, but being able to tell the difference between good and bad is what's going to allow you to see which woman out there is going to be manipulating you to where you're going to end up being a better version of yourself, or one that's going to use you for various things, And so let's get into that. So to start off with, I want to define for you what manipulation is. So manipulation in and of itself is a tactic that is used to influence, control, or exploit another person's behavior, thoughts, or emotions, oftentimes in a very covert way. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that covert is in a bad covert way, but a lot of times it's considered to be covert because it's deceitful. It's not letting the other person know that it's happening. I'll just say I've been studying this stuff for so long, between knowing female dynamics and male dynamics, that even when I'm with a woman that's doing a positive manipulation, I can sit there and look at her and be like, oh, she's trying to get me to do a thing. You know what? Well played. But I respect it because she's only doing it to see that I'm doing something better. So fantastic. But I recognize that across the board. So it's very hard for me in terms of my relationships to not be able to see when there's bad manipulation happening. That doesn't mean that my feelings wouldn't be involved to where it makes it harder to not want to believe that, but I typically recognize it, But anyway, so the primary goal of any manipulation is to achieve a specific outcome that benefits somebody. If the person is doing manipulation in particular in their relationship, ideally they're doing a manipulation it's meant to benefit not just her, but also the coupledom at large. But sometimes women also manipulate with the intent of benefiting just themselves, And so this is where we get into positive manipulation versus negative. So positive manipulation is manipulation that involves influence or encouragement that is intended with the purpose of mutual benefits. Yes. So it involves influence or encouragement intended for mutual benefit and the overall well-being of both parties. In other words, when she's trying to manipulate you, it's for the bigger goal of making both of you benefit from the outcome she perceives is going to happen as a result of that manipulation. A negative manipulation is something that involves being deceptive, coercive, or exploitative, using exploitative tactics that benefit the manipulator at the expense of the other person. All right. So in other words, she's doing things to you or making you feel certain ways because she sees a benefit outcome for her, regardless of if it works out well for you or not. All right. And so this is what we get into as you're dating as a guy. This is why I tell you guys it's good to be indifferent early in the dating process, because if you're indifferent and you're not already jumping head over heels about having feelings for this person, it leaves you very objective to be able to look at what's going on with this woman and say, okay, are the things she's saying or doing, is this she's being positive, or she's actually being manipulative in a negative way to where she's just trying to get money out of me. She's trying to separate me from my friends and family. She's trying to guilt trip me into things, all these other things, right? And so what I want to do is I'm going to give you some examples of positive manipulation first, and then I'm going to give you examples of negative manipulation that commonly occur, and then we'll talk about how you can spot the difference. So let's start off with examples of positive manipulation, all right? Number one, a woman that is encouraging you and is motivating you. This is where, let's say you're going after a particular goal, right? And maybe you're not sure that you can do it, or maybe you've been kind of lax in going after that goal. You've been wanting to do it, but you don't have a lot of self-confidence about it, and so you're just kind of yeah, I don't know if I want to do it or not, whatever, right? A good woman that sees that you have the potential to actually do this thing if you get your lazy butt up and do it, she's going to give you words of encouragement and motivation. And she's going to do that because she knows that most men want to be the hero of their woman. So let's say you're a great artist, right? And you've been thinking about, you want to, go gung-ho with your artistry and you want to paint stuff or do whatever and be able to sell your work, but you just haven't been really completely confident about it, right? Well, a woman that sees your artwork and is like, man, if this guy makes it big, he's going to be satisfied in what he's doing, but also it's going to benefit. He's going to sell it. It's going to make some good money. He's going to feel good about himself. It's only going to have more positive feelings in the relationship. More money's coming in. We can do more things, whatever. She's going to encourage you. Babe, I totally believe, oh, this artwork you're doing, this is so incredible. This is amazing. Think about the fact that moms do that to kids all the time. I will tell you now, I am a great artist. I've shown some of my artwork on the show. This isn't mine, but this painting here, this painting, I painted this, I painted this at a paint night. I have tons of things around this apartment that I've drawn, but that all started because when I was a kid and I was drawing things, my mom was sitting there, oh my God, that's so incredible. Good job, son. Way to go. Now, as a 5-year-old, I was not a great drawer, but as a 7 and 8-year-old, I have pictures from back in the day. I used to draw Mario and Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes and all these other cartoons and stuff like that. And I could draw them to where they're 95% looking just like the thing I was at. But I wouldn't have been wanting to do that if as a kid, they were just oh, that sucks, blah, blah, blah. So women will do that. And so your woman could see you starting to draw. Maybe again, you're starting to draw or paint things and they're not the best things, but your woman's going to make you feel this is Picasso style level. Oh my God, babe, that's so great. That's wonderful. Oh, you way to go, babe. You keep doing that. You keep working at it. What's that going to make you do? It's going to make you want to work harder to get better at painting because now you want to prove her right. Women are going to, that have interest in positively manipulating you, are going to speak life into the things you're doing because they want to see it grow and spring and come into existence. Okay. So that is very much a positive way that a woman's going to manipulate you. Even if she doesn't feel at the moment in time, oh, maybe she's not thinking your art's going to become anything, but she says you're passionate about it and that you think it could become something, then she's going to be all in on that, and that's a good thing. Another example of positive manipulation is a woman showing you emotional support. Not that guys are overly emotional because, there's a lot of times where we feel as though we get punished for showing our emotions and displaying them. But there are times where we might not be so sure about something or we had a bad day at work or whatever. And so, we're in a funk of some kind and our woman wants to get us out of that funk. And so she's going to come along and do what you got to do, whether it's giving you a pat on the back, saying, babe, it's going to get better, or just being there for you, hey, I hear you, babe. Is there something I can do for you? Do you need your alone time? I love when I'm dating women and I'm having a bad day and they're like, what can I do? And I'm like, I just need some alone time. And then their answer is, okay, sure. Because there are plenty of women that will get mad at that. Oh, you need your alone time. You must not like me and blah, 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 blah. And that's a horrible thing to go through. And so a woman that's going to be there to emotionally support you, to get you out of that kind of funk, or just to, support you through your happiness or through whatever, that is positive manipulation. She's trying to elevate how you feel. And a woman trying to give you good feelings, I'll take that kind of manipulation all day long because I want to be feeling good. I want to be feeling I mean the world to somebody, or that somebody believes in me, or that they're willing to stick by me when things are not going my way, which will make me feel better in the long run. That's all positive stuff. Another example of positive manipulation is compromising and negotiating. So there are going to be times where you guys will inevitably clash on something. I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. I think that sometimes when we're dating women and they have a different viewpoint from us, they're thinking about it from a different perspective than we would normally think about it. And sometimes we need that intel, and that's great, right? But a woman that is trying to positively manipulate you is going to present things to you in a way where even if a compromise has to be made or there has to be some kind of negotiation, you're going to leave the table not feeling less than. You're not going to feel less than for having a difference of opinion or a different viewpoint or wanting to do things differently. If anything, she'll come to the table and be like, hey, you know what? I totally see where you're coming from and I respect and understand why it is that you think that way. I just want to give you some different intel that you may not have considered, and then we can go with whatever you want, babe. Now, I've told women, I've said to them, hey, you going to a guy and saying, I want you to do this thing, blah, 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 and you better do this and that, and being that direct is not going to win you favors. What you need to do is make the man, is just give him the intel that you have and then leave him to and say, but hey, you know what? Whatever you decide to do, whatever. Because when you say that, a guy's going to be thinking, she's leaving it up to me. That's so great. But you know what? Darn it. I want to make sure she's pleased with this decision too. You know what? I got to come up with something that's going to be best for both of us. And so women will win more points if they go that route than trying to be the domineering, why don't you listen to me? And why don't you blah, 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 blah. And so I encourage, like, again, when I'm in relationships and I'm talking to women and I can tell there's a bit of a contention, I'll sit there going, okay, I see where this is going. So she disagrees. So what is she going to present to me that's going to make me want to come to a compromise? And then inevitably, woman will say something, hey, have you considered blah, 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 blah? And because I teach you guys this stuff, I know when a manipulation is happening, that even a positive one, I'll sit there again and be like, okay, she said that. She didn't completely turn down my idea. She respects what I'm thinking. She doesn't have to, but she's saying it in a way where I know she doesn't agree with me, but she's not saying outright, and she's saying she respects me, though she probably doesn't. But she's also bringing things to the table I hadn't thought about, and she's bringing solutions. Well played. Like, I respect the game. Real talk. Like, when you guys start to really know this stuff, you'll start to see stuff and be like, respect. Because you'll also know, you might be thinking in the moment, is it bad that I know what the card she's going to play, or that this is a manipulation? And it's like, would you prefer that manipulation or one where the woman's just off a rocker and trying to make you feel bad? I go with positive. So in negotiations, I leave space for, I'm going to go in knowing that she's going to have some differences of opinion. And depending on how she presents her argument, I will be acquiesced to come to a compromise. Like, I'm ready to go in compromising. And that's the work that I've done, to not be so gung-ho and like, my way is the right way. But understand, women are going to come in, women that, again, care about you and have a good head on their shoulders and have good training, are going to come in and try to do everything they can to negotiate to where both sides win. And that, to me, is a positive for everybody, you know? Another way that women are going to positive manipulate you is they're going to talk about your strengths. There are going to be times where you may be down on yourself or doubtful about things. And again, she's trying to uplift you. She's trying to get you to where you're able to see the positives about yourself. Let's face it, guys. Growing up, especially when we're dating, we get a lot of rejections, a lot of no's, there's other guys out there that are better than you. And so we may have strengths that we're not even calling out because we don't want to, seem like we're too braggadocious, or we want to be humble in front of a woman and not be so, showy with our stuff. And so you'll have women that'll be like, no, you're really good at that. Oh, you have such a smart brain, babe. You analyze stuff better than anybody else. And oh, you have this talent for this thing that I just can't do. All she's doing is just what? Buttering you up, building up your self-esteem, making you feel good. And then when she comes to you later and says, hey, babe, I was wondering if we could go to this restaurant. You're so high up on how she complimented you earlier. You're like, we can go wherever you want, babe, because I just think the world of you. But again, that is a woman in her feminine knowing the positive way to get what she wants. If she calls out your strengths, if she makes you feel like you're the best guy ever, then she knows later on down the line, when she asks favors of you or when she wants you to do something, you're going to have a positive about saying yes to that. And that to me is not a bad thing, because I'm like, most women come with great ideas. They're like, hey, let's try this new restaurant. Or hey, have you considered this for a business? Or hey, have you tried this font for your website? And those are all great things. But they know we're going to be more open to hearing that if they are buttering us up from time to time. And I am all for it, because again, I've been in those relationships at times, or dated those women where it's like, everything's a complaint. Everything's oh my God, you did this thing. You tried intentionally, blah, 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 blah. And that's not what we're trying to do. If you know as a guy, you're not trying to be that way, then you don't need a woman trying to downgrade you or neg you all the time about things you're not doing right. So a woman's going to call it strengths. That is, part of that is she's doing it because she loves you and cares for you. But there's a small part of that that's like, she knows doing that, you're going to compliment her later, and women want to hear that also. So that's positive. And then also she knows you're more apt to do the things that she wants to do. Now, the caveat is, if there's times where you can't do what she wants you to do, she's also not going to get mad at it, because as the leader of the relationship, she knows it's probably for the benefit of you guys that you don't say yes to her thing. And that's also fine. She's not going to dock points, but she's not going to also now not talk about your strength either, just because you didn't do what you wanted to do. That's more negative, which we'll get into later. And then the fifth example of positive manipulation is her taking an interest in something you're doing, even if she's not all that into it. Like, you might be interested in football. You might be interested in video games. You might be interested in something either nerdy or something really guy, like, oh, I'm into trucks and monster truck races and wrestling and whatever. And she might come into the fold and might not be interested in that at all. But because women typically tend to be communal and they want to be able to bond with you, they may very well decide to start asking questions about those things, or maybe sit down with you for a wrestling match or two, or maybe ask you more questions about, what do you like about video games? What are your favorite ones? Blah, 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 blah. Now, that is a manipulation, because her thought is, this is a two-way street. If I show a little bit of interest and things that he's interested in, even if I don't care about them, then he's going to do the same. So on some level, this is her saying, I'm giving the olive branch to show you that I'll like some of your stuff if you'll come with me to a chick flick, or talk to me about, going to the store for shopping, or, walking around with me in the mall and going into the makeup section with me, even though that's not your jam. Like, that is a manipulation. But again, it's positive because both sides should be willing to do something that the other person in the relationship wants to do, even if it's not always to their personal liking, So again, these are all examples of positive manipulation that both you and her should be doing to each other to facilitate the overall great feelings of a relationship. Now, with that said, we will now get into examples of negative manipulation that you need to keep an eye out for, because these are things that if women are doing them, they're doing them with ill intentions, whether there's a conscious of it or not, and it's to the detriment of you, your feelings, and how you feel about yourself in the relationship. Spoiler, guys, by the way, when I say negative manipulation, there are going to be times where women come to you with legitimate things or legitimate complaints like, you haven't been doing this, or we've been arguing for a while and this isn't happening, blah, blah, blah. I don't consider that negative manipulation. I consider that maybe you as a guy weren't listening enough to what she was complaining about, and now she has to go hardcore on you. But that's different from the feeling tone of what negative manipulation actually is, which we'll go into in a bit. So here are some examples of negative manipulation that women will try on you that are not good. For one, guilt tripping. These are when women say things like, well, if you love me, you would do this thing. If you cared about me, you would buy this for me. If you really had feelings for me, you would get rid of those friends. This is the thing that is designed to make you feel like you're doing something wrong when you're not, simply because it's hurting her feelings. And women will turn on the tears, and they'll turn on the whole like, well, if you don't do this thing for me, it shows that you don't really care about me and whatever. And how could you not think about this? I remember there was one time I was dating a woman, and I told her the whole thing about, hey, there's some times when I just want to have alone time. And she started crying. How could you want to be somewhere without me? And how could you want to not be around me? And this is that. And that was meant to be a guilt trip. Like the response she expected was, oh, I'm sorry. I will never do alone time ever again. I'm an introvert. I always want my alone time. So I told her, I was like, yeah, I can have a good time with you or without you. Like, if you're there, it's not that it's a better or gooder time. It's just different. Like, I can have fun by myself and it'd be a good time. I can have a person there and it'd be a good time. To me, as an introvert, these are two different sets of time, and both of them have equal footing, and she couldn't get that. So she was trying to guilt trip me into thinking, oh my God, how dare you? She was also very jealous of my female friends and my female cousin. Like, I remember one time I took my cousin out to a pizza place because she had just moved here from the East Coast. She moved to California. We went out, had some pizza. I get back. What are you guys doing? She calls me up. What are you guys doing? Oh, I was just hanging out with my cousin. Oh, where'd you guys go? Oh, I went to a pizza place. Oh, so did you pay for her? And I was like, well, I mean, that's really none of your business, but yeah, so what? Oh, okay. I just don't know why you pay for her if she's your blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, does she think I'm trying to get with my cousin? Like, what the freak's going on? But again, that's guilt tripping, And so women will do this because they're thinking, they know that, again, men want to be the heroes to their women. They know sometimes if they say something to guilt trip us, we're going to feel bad for doing anything at all to hurt their feelings. And then we're going to try to remedy that by not doing that thing, by not going out with our friends anymore, by not having our alone time. And that is a very negative thing because it makes you feel as though you're doing something wrong when, again, all you're doing is just living your life the way you were before she got into the picture. I don't think fundamentally that you should completely change how you were living just because the woman's here. If you were playing the guitar before her getting into the relationship and you wanted to stop playing the guitar because it takes time away from us, that's guilt tripping, and that's not fair to you, guy. So that's the first way. The second example of negative manipulation is gaslighting. This is where women will make you doubt your memory about certain things you did, Like, she'll say, well, you said the other day X, Y, and Z, and you'll be like, I don't believe I said that. Yes, you did. You said this thing. You promised me and blah, 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 blah. And so gaslighting is designed to make you think that you're tripping, that your brain is completely out of whack, and that you're not able to remember things, and that maybe I did do this thing. Maybe I did tell her I wouldn't do the X, Y, and Z. And women will do that because they're trying to change the narrative to get their way. So, for example, let's say you guys had planned to go on a vacation, and you guys said, okay, we'll do it. We're like, we'll do your vacation, and the next time we'll do my vacation, right? Fast forward to, it's your turn, and she's like, but no, you said last time that I could pick the vacation. And you're thinking like, that didn't happen. Like, last time we went someplace, you chose the vacation. But no, but then remember you said that the next time I can still pick it again? Well, that's not the conversation. Oh, how could you forget that you said that? Oh my God. Now you start thinking, did I say that? Was it a dream I had? Like, did I say it in my sleep? Like, what the freak's going on? Maybe I did say it. Okay, babe, totally is whatever. And so it's designed to make you think that you're crazy, and women will do this tactic to get their way, and it's not fair to you. The third example of negative manipulation, this one all guys know about. Wait for it, guys. Withholding affection. And for most men, this looks like withholding a hookup, but it goes beyond that. I'm talking like withholding touches, withholding kisses, saying things like, well, you didn't, take the trash out the right way last night, so I'm not going to give you any because I'm hurt now and I feel a certain way. And here's the thing, guy. I can understand if you're doing all the things wrong. Or even if you're in a fight with a woman, maybe she's like, because women are feelings based, and so they have to feel like they're connecting with you in a certain way to give a hookup. I get that, but I'll tell you now, I have dated women who there were times where we were in contention, we were having a strong disagreement about some stuff to where we were almost not talking to each other, and they still wanted to hook up because they knew even if we were fighting, that hooking up is still an important part of the relationship. Hey, women want hookups too, So for women to be like, I hold the keys and we only do hooking up when I want to do it, and if you do anything wrong, then we're not going to do a thing. That is a thing that is going to completely drive you nuts and crazy. And it's also a thing too where women, because women will fight this. But a lot of times when men end up cheating on women will say, how could he do this? This is a bad thing. I saw this episode of a snippet of Dr. Phil the other day where this man and woman were on, and they were talking about like, oh my God, he cheated with this neighbor girl and blah, 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 blah. And so doesn't excuse the behavior, right? But he was saying, well, we had gone a long time without hooking up, and she finally said to me, hey, you might as well just go get someplace else. So I did. Now, what was her response to that? She said, I never said that. I would never say such a thing. Gaslighting. There are plenty of wives out there that jokingly say, well, if you want it so bad, go somebody else get it. Not thinking their guy's going to actually do it. But some guys will actually do that stuff. But suffice to say, her withholding affection, that is a very important activity in a relationship. It is an activity that bonds two people together, and that within the confines of a relationship, most people aren't trying to like share that with other people, So women that will be like, okay, I already got him because he knows we're in a relationship. I told him we need to be monogamous, and so I'm the only he can do it with. So he now is a puppet, is a string of puppets in my hand. He has to do what I want him to do, or else no sex is going to happen. Guys, if you find your woman at all, even jokingly saying that she would do that, get out. Like, get out. As a person that has dealt with somebody before that was willing to hold off hooking up for like a month, I can tell you it does not benefit the relationship. It does not cause good feelings to happen, and it's only going to cause you to build resentment more. Do not let a woman you're dating use this tactic. If she is, don't even have a conversation. Are you going to have one conversation like, hey, babe, so I know it's been like 3 weeks. What's going on? Well, I just don't feel like, okay, great. So it's been nice talking to you. And let me know if that changes. I'm going to go over here and find somebody else who wants to, do stuff all the time. Because I'll tell you now, it is great to date a woman that wants to hook up at almost any time of day, whenever you want to, Even at times where you guys disagree, it's nice for women that you're dating to have a head on her shoulders. It's like, but we need to get over this quickly because I want to feel like I want to hook up with you. So let's talk. Let's converse. Hey, I'll compromise. Maybe I was tripping, but you were tripping too. Let's come to some conclusions so we can get back to the good stuff. Like, you want that woman, not the woman that's like, I'm going to hold it over your head for 3 weeks. And then even after we talk about it, well, I still got to feel a certain way. So I still don't want it. You can't make me. Guys, that's how harassment starts. And you don't want to get a harassment charge from somebody that you were dating simply because they decided to hold the box back. Real talk. Anyway, that's the third thing. The fourth example of negative manipulation is a woman that is playing the victim. And this especially comes from women that came from households where they had a lot of trauma happen, whether they were touched a certain way, whether their dads or parents just disrespected them. You will find that those kind of women get into this bag real quick, saying things like, like you get in an argument, you just did it because you don't really care about me, or I'm always the one that's getting hurt around here. You just don't understand me, and you're not even trying to. And so you don't want to date women that are like, you get into an argument, and they're like, oh, you just don't care about me. You just always about you, blah, blah, blah. They're coming from a place of hurt, but also they're doing that because they're trying to get you to just automatically agree with whatever it is they were talking about, whatever argument they had, whatever side of the disagreement that they were on. They're like, I know I can get to this guy if I shed the tears, and if I tell him that, oh, poor's me, you're just like everybody else that's beating down on me and saying that I'm wrong about X, Y, and Z. that if she says that, by the way, that's good intel. If she gets intel like everybody's always saying X, Y, and Z about me, that lets you know that people are letting her know to her face that she's doing some wrong stuff and she's not taking it in. You want a woman that's willing to be objective and say, hey, again, maybe I was tripping. You know what? I can see from your point of view how you'd come to this conclusion or how you feel this certain way. Because what you don't want is this. You don't want to date a woman that she does something wrong. And you go to her and say, hey, babe, this thing you said, I know you were probably joking or you didn't mean it in this certain way, but when this thing was said, this is how I took it. And then her response is, well, I mean, you always joke with me like that, and you should just get a thicker skin because you're always saying X, Y, and Z and come making complaints. So, I mean, how'd you, like, those are women that are very hard to deal with and are going to become a huge headache for you. And they're never going to see how they did anything wrong ever. And those kind of women are going to make you feel as though you're always the bad guy. Guy, you are not always the bad guy. Yes, there are going to be times where you're going to do something unintentionally to the woman or say something to her that's going to be out of pocket, because when you're getting to know a woman and you're getting to know each other realistically, you don't know each other's triggers yet. So you're learning triggers along the way. You can say, my bad, I didn't know that was a trigger, going forth X, Y, and Z. That's totally fine. But for a woman to be like, it's always your fault and she's always the victim and she's always one getting pounced on, if you're seeing this in the dating phase, it doesn't get better when you're in a relationship. It doesn't get better if you marry this woman. It only gets worse. So start looking out for that. And then the fifth example of negative manipulation is something called triangulation. Basically, what that means is that she will bring a third party into the situation in an attempt to get you jealous so she can get her way. So for example, let's say she wanted you to like spend money on her at a lunch place and you're like, babe, we're trying to save up money for a trip and so we can't do that. Then she comes home from work one day, you're talking about her work day. Oh, me and Billy from work finally went to that restaurant that you would never take me to just because, you know, I had a little bit of money, but he said he would treat me. So we just went out and had a friendly coworker lunch. And so she's doing that in an attempt to make you jealous, to basically say, this other guy's doing what you can't do. What do you think of that? In hopes that you're going to now be the guy that acquiesces to do the things that she wants you to do. Because if not, she's saying, if you don't do it, I know a third party out there that will. Guys, if she starts doing that, you need to say, you know what? Best of luck to that guy handling you because I'm out of here. Because that's not fair for you, for her to be using other people, whether it's another guy at her job or somebody in her family. Oh, my dad just paid for this thing or did this thing because you can't do it as a guy. Like, that is a thing where she's not respecting where you're at in your life's journey as the guy in the relationship. And you need to dump her as fast as possible. You do not need to deal with her anymore, right? So now that you know the examples, you've seen examples of positive manipulation, you've seen examples of negative manipulation. How can you as a guy be able to tell the difference if a positive or negative manipulation is currently happening to you? Here's the overall takeaway, right? If a woman is doing a positive manipulation, it is designed to either make you feel good or to elevate you in some capacity, right? Now, we don't want women lying to you and saying like, oh yeah, you can totally be like a great gymnast and you can't do any flips. Like, we're not talking about like outright lying to where she's manipulating you, but things like, you know, oh baby, you can do it. Oh yeah, you're so great at this, X, Y, and Z, you think so, whatever. Like, it's designed to uplift you, make you feel great about yourself, right? Negative manipulations are designed to guilt trip you, to make you feel like you're not doing a good enough job in the relationship, to make you feel like maybe the way that she's thinking about things is the right way, or that you're going completely crazy because she's saying you said stuff that you didn't say, whatever. It's all basically stuff that's making you feel less than, so it puts her up here and she benefits, whether it's monetarily, whether it's emotionally, etc., right? So how to tell the difference in the moment? For one, you need to start assessing her intent when she's saying things to you. For example, let's say you have the ability to, like a new job comes across your desk. Hey, there's a job that's come into play and you're thinking about taking it, but you're not sure, right? A woman that is being positively manipulative will say, oh, you should take the job. You'd be great at that position. You have these talents that match with it. And I think you'd be really, really great. You get along with people well, all that stuff, right? A woman that's negatively manipulating you will say, oh, you need to take the job because it's going to benefit our family, bring money in. How dare you not want to take the job? Is it because you're thinking about yourself and not me? What about how you're taking the job is going to benefit me and allow us to be in a better place? Blah, blah. Like, again, this is a situation where she's trying to guilt trip you into taking the job and is trying to make you feel bad for even not considering it because, well, so what if you have other dreams? You not taking this job doesn't benefit her. And that's a bad way to go. So you got to look at what is the angle that she's coming at when she's trying to be manipulative towards you? Because again, positive manipulation is great. So if you're feeling great about yourself as a result of these manipulations, fantastic. If she's negatively manipulating you or saying, well, you shouldn't hang out with those friends anymore because hanging out with those friends takes less time away from us hanging out, and how would you feel if I did? That's all guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip, not good. Another way to tell the difference is you need to evaluate how you feel after that manipulation. If you're feeling confident, if you're feeling great, if you feel like you're more encouraged to go do that thing you didn't think you could do before, fantastic. If after that you're feeling guilty or you're anxious about, is she going to want to stay around now because she was saying this thing and she was saying that she was going to leave me if I didn't do X, Y, and Z or whatever, then that's probably a bad angle, you know? Another way to tell the difference is you need to ask yourself, does this manipulation cause the balance of power to seem like it's leaning one way versus the other? A woman that is trying to positively manipulate you, she's trying to keep things either here, or since you are technically the one that she looks at as the leader in the relationship, she's trying to elevate you to like maybe slightly higher. But ideally, it's going to be on a balanced scale where it's like, you know, if she's trying to compromise with you, for example, she's trying to see to it where both parties are going to get something out of this, where they gave away some things, they also gave some things, but overall, both parties are going to be pleased and feel as though this was an even exchange that happened as a result of this manipulation that she did, right? Negative, it's all her. Like, she's trying to make you lose your friends. She'll take a job that you don't want, or take away sex in the bedroom so you'll do X, Y, and Z. It's all leaning towards you're going to do what she wants you to do, so that way she gets out of this what she wants. And it makes the power balance where she's up here and you're down here, and she's on the pedestal. And I know I talk about on the show extensively about how you as a guy should not be putting women on pedestals, but there are women out there that are intentionally trying to feel as though they're the one that has the advantage and are trying to make their guy put them on a pedestal. Even though when women do get that, they'll still end up leaving you for some other Chatter Tyrone that isn't putting her on a pedestal. So even women that think they want to be put on a pedestal will actually not want to stick around long-term for that, because that's not where women want to be. Women want to be the one that has their guy in the leadership position. You as a guy can't be there if she's at the pedestal. But some women think that they want that and will try to manipulate you as such to be able to get themselves up here. Get out. Another way to tell the difference is you need to start studying her patterns. So for example, if you notice that she is more average than not being supportive of you and is using her manipulation to help you through challenges, to see yourself as better than, to be able to, you know, elevate you to these next levels or to help you through various things, then this is all very great. And it's very easy to tell, like, women are like, oh, she just seems like she's always got a great vibe going. She's always encouraging. She's always so great to me. Like, that's the kind of manipulation you want to see. If you feel though that you constantly feel as though you're in fear of losing her, or that she's constantly using guilt, or you notice that she has typical language like, you know, oh, you're always doing this, or you just don't really care about me, or you just in this for yourself. That's all negative pattern talk that she's giving that indicates that, yeah, she's going to use all her power to be manipulative towards you in a negative way. That is not good. And then the last way to tell the difference, and this is why it's important to have people around you that truly care about you, is that you need to talk with your close circle of friends for different perspectives, right? I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was dating a woman, and we got to one of those conversations where, like, I think my mom came into town, and I told her before my mom came to town, hey, my mom's going to come over, but she's going to spend the night in this other apartment that I have downstairs, so you can come over and spend the night, right? So then we got back, and then my mom, like, stayed, and she came to my apartment, and we were just having a conversation where I was like, you know what? I don't want to have my mom just downstairs, so I'll let her like sleep up here and I'll sleep on the couch. It is what it is, right? So I ended up having a conversation with this chick, and I was trying to tell her like, oh yeah, my mom's stayed upstairs in the apartment. Now keep in mind, this girl I was dating was not actually going to be staying in our apartment. Like, she was going to be coming over to visit to watch a show with me or whatever like that. But she got on me like, well, you said that this thing was going to be happening with your mom, but this thing's happening. And I was thinking to myself at the time, like, that's not what happened. Now, in hindsight, that is what I said. I did say my mom's going to stay downstairs, and then and we're going to stay upstairs, and then whatever. But I was like, at the end of the day, it's my mom. I changed my mind in the moment, and I forgot that I'd said that thing, right? So we had a big argument about it. She was like, "You're gaslighting me because you said this thing, but then you're making me sound crazy because I just said this, blah blah blah." And I'm thinking like, what is she tripping about? Either way, like, my mom's not staying up here, so what's the big deal? Why is she mad? It was a cluster of other things that happened in that relationship. But anyway, the point is, so I talked to one of my guy friends and said, hey, so-and-so that I'm dating, we had this conversation, and I think she's tripping about it. And he was like, what happened? And I said, well, I said this thing, and then I said this thing later, and she said that I said this thing, and she's saying I'm gaslighting her, blah, 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 blah. And so what my guy friend said was, I could see in that situation how she would see that you were possibly gaslighting her, even if you weren't trying to. And I sat there and was just like, I appreciate him for calling me out on that crap. Like, I don't, just because I'm not seeing it as that, if she experienced it as that, then that's what happened. But I'm glad I had somebody to go to for intel about that, where they could say, based on my observation of this, because I'm outside of the situation, but based on what I'm hearing, she could possibly be right. And I, in the moment, needed to hear that. And so I was very grateful for that intel. And so you need to have people in your life in general that will call you out for when you're tripping, but also when they can see, hey, your girl said this. Oh, she's tripping. Oh, she's doing this with the coworker. Yeah, that's a no-go. Like, you need to have that, because when we're in a situation, whether we're the ones in the wrong or the right, we're not going to always see what's going on, because, as the guy, we're going to fight because we're the right ones and we're the hero in our story, and she's going to fight because she's the hero in her story. And so you need outsiders sometimes let you know, oh, you're tripping, or oh, yeah, she's actually one doing X, Y, and Z. This isn't a good situation. This is my intel. Now, when that happens, whether the next choice is yours to make in terms of if you want to keep them around or not, you cannot blame these people, man, for being like, you told me this thing, and so I dumped her, and it's your fault. You got to take the intel you get from other people and decide, based on that intel that you're using as part of your research, if you want to continue on with this other person. But it's still good to have other people outside of you to see what's going on, because, again, sometimes we get so deep in with somebody that we can't always tell if we're being manipulated in a positive or negative way or not, right? So all that said, guys, hopefully this show has given you a bit more intel about how you can tell the difference between good manipulation and bad manipulation. Ultimately, at the end of the day, both people in relationships are trying to get things from the other person in order to better their position in the relationship, in order to have better feelings built and established. And so that's why I say the word manipulation has a bad connotation, but not all manipulation is bad. But it's good for you as the guy to always recognize when it's incoming, if it's being used in a positive light to make you feel good and to make you be able to elevate yourself to the next level, or it's being negatively used to guilt trip you into going her way. If it's being used negatively, then I always say you got to consider, if that's how she is now, it's not going to get better later. And so it behooves you to have a couple conversations that are like, hey, whatever. But I have found, honestly, women that are already designed to manipulate you in a negative way, they already have enough damage done to them to where it's very hard to get them to manipulate you in a more positive way. And so I just learned not to deal with those women. At the point that I see that happening, I'm like, okay, I'm already out, because again, there's too many women out there that will be more positive in their thinking and more positive in trying to elevate you, not degrade you or make you feel as less than just to get their way. Those women do exist. Now, if you need help trying to find those women and trying to become the kind of guy that can keep those women when you do find them, I highly recommend going to introvertdatingsuccess.com and checking out my Introvert Dating Success Coaching Program. It is a program that is designed to take off your blind spots, help you to see authentically how to be your true self while being able to get the women that you desire and the attraction process they need to go through in order to actually want to date you. And I can tell you now, most women need the same blueprint. So once you learn what the blueprint is to be able to get one woman, I can assure you, like, there'll be other women that come along that will need that same blueprint in order for you to actually get within a relationship. Again, go to the website and check that out. I would love to help you with that today as part of your dating journey. So hopefully this stuff helps you out. So with that said, guys, I got a few minutes left here. If you guys have any questions you want me to answer during the course of the show, it can be about anything, about dating in general, about something going on in your dating life. I charge a lot for coaching. So this is a good time now to be able to get any questions that you may have answered from yours truly while I'm still on this live, But suffice to say, yeah, guys, you know how I came up with this topic, though? So interestingly enough, I had a situation the other day happen where I almost got tricked out of some money. I had a phone call that I got. So I'll backpass by saying this. My photo booth business is going great now. I'm starting to get more money in. And so I had somebody put down a big deposit on a photo booth gig I'm doing next week. So it just so happens the next day, I get a phone call from a random number saying, hey, so is this Harry? I'm like, yeah, this is Harry. Like, hey, we've been trying to serve you with these legal papers for the last couple of weeks, but you haven't been home. There's a lawsuit. I'm like, what's going on? And so they're like, yeah, there's a lawsuit. We're trying to serve you these papers. We don't know what the lawsuit's about, but you can call this number with this case number and they'll tell you what it's about. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I hang up. I call the number and so-and-so's like, hey, this is so-and-so from a law firm. How may I help you? Like, yeah. So they said, what's your case number? So my case number is, and that should have been my first clue. They're automatically asking for a case number, basically calling that number. But I'm like, oh, the case number is whatever the guy gave me. And I was like, okay, what's the problem? It's like, yeah. So apparently there was an account you had from Wachovia, like back in 2009. And so, you had some outstanding payments on that account. And so it's built up to like $6,400. And I'm like, I owe $6,400 to a bank that closed out years ago from a company that no longer exists because Wachovia got bought by Wells Fargo. So I'm sitting there like, what are you talking about? Yeah, it's been building up interest and fees for all these years, so you owe like this amount of money. And so I'm thinking on the phone like, okay, like, so are you saying I owe $6,400? And they're like, well, no, the good news is if you pay within 30 days, you'll only owe like $1,500. I was like, okay, so what do I got to do? Well, if you make a good faith payment today, then you can just pay like $100, $200, $300, and then we'll hold that for 30 days while you get the rest of the payment together. At this point, I'm like, okay, good. So what do you need from me? Okay, well, just get your information, your address, blah, blah, blah. So I start telling them my address. I'm just like, this feels weird. Like, I happened to get a deposit in my bank account yesterday. Now, out of nowhere, these people are calling me up like I owe $1,500 to them within the next 30 days and they won't sue me. Like, that seems weird. So fortunately, in my circle, I know people that are in law firms. I have lawyer friends. I know I have Supreme Court justices that are also in my family, like 2 of them that used to be Supreme Court justices in various states. So I hit one of the people up and was like, hey, when I was on the phone, I said, hey, just out of curiosity, what is the name of your law firm? And so they gave me some law firm name. So I hit up somebody I knew and was like, hey, so I got this case number and these people are saying I owe X amount of money and this is the law firm that they're whatever. And they were able to look up the law firm and the case number. Case number wasn't a thing. Law firm wasn't a thing. So yeah, they were trying to dupe me out of $1,500. Now, because I didn't know how to look for that because I was like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if the case number had a dash in it. I'm assuming it could be a real case number. The law firm, it sounded like some legal names. It sounded legitimate, but it actually wasn't, So these people were trying to manipulate me out of my money because they knew that I was going to be ignorant, right? And so I said, because I try to do these programs here because I don't want you to fall for tactics because you're unaware, Women, there are women out there that are well-meaning and that are only trying to do good by men, but there are also a segment of women out there that will take you being an ignorant guy and they'll know he's horny, he probably hasn't had a lot of action, and so I'm going to do all that I can to manipulate this guy to get the things that I want, even if I never want to date him, never want to give him a hookup, never even want to kiss him. Because think about there are all these OF girls that'll ask guys for like thousands of dollars just to have a personalized video made. Or there was one guy recently that paid $10,000 to meet a personal OF influencer that he really likes. And then she used that money to up and go on vacation with her actual boyfriend. You know what I'm saying? But I can't fault the woman because she knows that dudes will get off on just any kind of human contact from a woman that's pretty, And so I'm thinking that $10,000, he could have paid me half of that and learned all the things about how to actually get women that would do things with him that wouldn't cost him all that much money, And so that's why I do this, because I don't want you guys getting manipulated by the wrong women in a negative way to end up losing your house, your money, your cars, or getting sued unintentionally for, SA that you didn't actually do, which happens to guys a lot also as well, So that's why I do all this stuff. Question says, I can't get the No Girls For You ebook. It always brings me to a page that says no product found. Is there any way I can get this book? If you're going to the website directly, you should be able to get it, but I will double check that and make sure that it's available for you to get. But it should be able to take you directly to the checkout page when you go there. You go to the main web page, which takes you to another page that takes you to the checkout page. And so I will double check that after this broadcast to make sure that you're able to get the book. But definitely go there and check out the other books as well, because the texting book and the Getting Your Girl Back book, if you're not losing women now, you will lose them at some point. And it's good to know if you want to get them back, how to do that, whether you caused the breakup or whether they caused the breakup. All right. So hopefully, guys, that helps you guys out. Thank you so much for checking in for this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. Like I said, for the month of May, you can pay what you want at checkout for whatever book that we have there. Again, I'll go check out that one that you're talking about, Guy. But thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. As always, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to this channel, share this video, and be sure to check out the website for my ebooks, audiobooks, and other various programs. If you're listening on the podcast, I do these live events on YouTube. You can subscribe at youtube.com/Harry Wilmington and also go to the website. Thanks for watching. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace. You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high